I'm like, let's go. Sorry.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock and I'll call the Wells Springs Unified Union School District Board meeting to order. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First order of business is to approve the agenda. I would like to add a few things. The first one would be an executive session, specifically just for the purpose of a contract discussion. The next would be in regards to our meeting with Medley School District last night. Just a quick discussion about authorizing the board chair. I can talk about it more. And the last thing is BFBA resolution. Okay. So with that, I'll move that. Is there anything else? Okay, no, sorry. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Carries unanimously. Public comment. Is there anyone online tonight who wishes to speak? Okay. We have the minutes and the warrants. Let's see. Any discussion or amendments to the minutes? Or the warrants? Any discussion? Amanda?
I just had a question about the gas charges. There's multiple gas charges, and I didn't see anywhere where there was like a reimbursement from Corey Valley for that. Do we get that, dude? Does anybody know? Or is all of that?
Well, which warrant are you looking at? 395 or 97?
Sorry, I'm zooming here. 395. And so they start on the bottom and they go on to the second page. There's like 1, 2, looks like 10. And they're all pretty close. They're like 310, 311, or I'm sorry, 310, 312, 318, 324, 328. So it's like gas every couple of days. So I'm assuming that's including trips to pick up the Corey Valley students as well. And I didn't know if there was a line somewhere where I was missing where we're reimbursed for any of that.
I don't know. Maybe we can get an answer about that, or actually, you could probably just email Lewis since he's not here tonight.
Okay, I can do that. I just didn't know if somebody else knew before I bothered him for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. All right. Anything else? If not, take a motion to approve the minutes from April 9th and warrant 395 and 97.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by George. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
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 All right, that's unanimous. Okay, and then we'll come back to personnel after our executive session. So, finance. I guess, did anyone have any questions about the monthly reports either? Okay, on to superintendent's report.
Thanks, Eric. I don't have a lot tonight. I know I reviewed some of this at the GRCSU board meeting. The biggest thing I guess I would just highlight is just around the H454, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and I'm sure you had discussion about this last night with MetaWe. It does have an impact. We had seen the House's proposal around 454. The Senate had released their proposal, and it was approved and voted out by a vote of 6-0. It is currently with the Senate Finance Committee. There are some market differences between the House and the Senate proposal, particularly around class size. Well, the House proposal had class size minimums. The Senate proposal does not have class size minimums, nor any discussion or language around school size altogether. There's also still a big discussion around the redistricting, or how they're going to break up the state of Vermont. We all know that Governor Scott, his initial proposal had a map that he had broken the state into 5 districts, historically around the 5 regional superintendent groups maps. Then Senator Bongartz provided a map that he had developed. But in the Senate proposal, they have asked to create a task force, which will be composed of 8 individuals, which are 4 House, 4 Senate members. There's no political party affiliation. It'll just be 4 members of each. And then that they have they're tasked with generating or creating a map by December 15th of 2025, at least one map. If they cannot get a map approved by the General Assembly, then I do believe that is January 31st of 2026. That same task force has to have an alternate plan for how we're going to reconfigure the state of Vermont. So those are some things obviously for us to take a look at. Obviously the map is of concern. I'm sure that whatever we see what it looks like, I'm sure there'll be people who have some very strong opinions. I'm sure there'll be people who contest it, but that's just kind of where we're at with that. So there also is some other bills on delay. We had 480, which is it's a miscellaneous education bill, miscellaneous bill, a lot of education things in there. There's obviously a cell phone bill is tucked in there. Just something we're keeping an eye on, particularly around the policy that states that a district or an SU will develop a policy that basically states that schools will limit phones and the classroom setting. We have a lot of these procedures already in place. But we'll see what happens with that bill. There's some other things tucked in there as well around library, section of materials. There also is the yield bill, which was just passed on May 7th. It's 8491. And the reason why that's of importance because we knew that they bought down the property tax rate to a tune of $118 million. And I do believe it's 41 million of that came from the ed fund surplus, and 77 million was from the general fund. And the reason why that's of note to us, it brings down the average property tax rate to 1%. But that means that for FY27, that school districts will be operating with a deficit already, and something which will have an impact on us. So I know there's some very strong opinions. I'm not necessarily going to get into that. There are some people who believe that was a very political move. Others believe it was a necessary move. But either way, it's going to have an impact on our budgeting for FY27. And that is not next year, but is the following year. But we'll start our budgeting process this spring and this summer. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions on any of this or any other questions you may have about the things that are going on. I know Carol and Corey will talk a little bit about graduation and end of the year activities, as well as just to finish up the VitCap.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Good. Thanks.
On the principal reports. I can't even remember who went last.
I don't know. We don't keep track. Okay. You want me to go?
Sure.
I'll go. Okay. I know I had put in there, we did celebrate our teachers last week, all week long. I think they really truly felt appreciated and our PTO did a wonderful job of providing breakfast and then helping out with a lunch on Friday before the half day. And this year we are going to do a shared field day with Middletown. We're going to do it at Wells. I think one of the things that was kind of driving it is that we have access to water activity. And I think that's a more difficult thing to do here. So our kids are kind of excited. Ryan Lawrence, our PE and health teacher, is going to be working with Jamie and they're coming up with a bunch of activities and we will bus kids over, have lunch, celebrate in the afternoon again and send them home. And that'll be on June the 13th. I know Wells is also going to do our Lake Day. We go to Lake St. Catherine every year. That will be on June the 10th. I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to Angie Hayes, our pre-K teacher for the second year in a row. It was awarded the 5 stars. So she will also get some financing that goes along with that, which she used to help purchase some new pieces of furniture for her classroom and was able to purchase some other things, but she does a wonderful job. We are almost done with our spring testing, as Chris said. And over the April break, last year, our PTO worked with MWA and did a matching grant, and we were able to install new basketball hoops. And they can be raised and lowered, which is really nice. They're actually very nice. And we're doing a dedication with the MWA on Monday in the evening. Also over that week, 2 additional pieces of playground equipment were installed. And Neil Dobb was there today from the tech department and he and I talked about being able to actually address the problem we have with our PA system, which has been in my report forever. And he talked to me today about coming back and really talking about what we can do to kind of take care of that problem. So, yeah. That's it.
I don't think that we had our Middletown Wells Where the Mountain Meets the Moon competition before our last board meeting. So that has since happened. I think it happened 2 days after our last board meeting. And I have to say it was such a success. So the kids had a great time. The adults had a great time. We had some support from the community, people coming out, parents coming out. It was a lot of fun. And I think the kids have overwhelmingly requested to do something similar again next year. So we want to make sure that we're putting the structures in place for next year to make sure that this happens. And I think that kind of led into field day with us finding more of those opportunities to bring our 2 schools together. Let's see. We have officially wrapped up the VitCap testing and have then immediately jumped into FastBridge testing. So our 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders are certainly getting a lot of it right now when we plan on celebrating them once those grade levels finish up testing because they've been working really, really hard with that. I briefly mentioned in my report about the stairwell in the new addition of the building. It tends to flood every year. And I think it's been overlooked every year with the flooding. So this year we took a deeper look at it. We had Katie Associates come and take a look to do some testing for mold. And it did test positive for black mold. So we have since been in contact with Visbit. They came out to visit this week to do an evaluation for insurance purposes. And then GW Savage was in the building this morning. I had the opportunity to meet with them. So they were taking a look at the area and sort of what the scope of work would be. So their next steps are they are taking their evaluation from today. They send it up to their Burlington office and they will send us a quote. We should have that within a week. And then they would come back. We would schedule a time for them to do the work. So we'll see what the timeline is once we get that quote back from them. Right now the stairwell is shut down. They tested the hallways both on this level and upstairs. The hallways are safe, and the recommendation was just to shut down the stairwell.
Is this is the quote just for mold remediation or is it to fix also the The flooding problem.
Correct. So the quote is going to be for mold remediation, and then Ernie will need to work on fixing the larger problem because the landscape it slopes right into the building, kind of a similar situation to what Wells has. So any extra water that we have just runs right into the building and over time finds its cracks and makes its way in. So there will need to be more work done. I suspect larger scale that would need to be done over the summer.
Okay.
So. And then also, like Carol said, we celebrated all of our staff last week with Teacher Appreciation Week. And I mean, we had a lot of fun. Sometimes I think it was more for me with some of the activities that we did. We had a blast. And I truly appreciate the people that come into this building every single day and make it such a warm and welcoming place for not only the students, but I enjoy coming to work. And so when you enjoy coming to work, you know, it's a pretty good place. And I'd also like to thank the FFE. I really tapped into them this year to make this week really special. And they showed up. We had a lot of parents that showed up to volunteer so that our teachers could enjoy lunch together. So a big thank you to everybody that made last week incredibly successful. And then the last thing I'd like to address is our sixth grade graduation. I think at our last meeting, I had stated that we had a similar graduation date to Wells. It turned out that there was a pretty big conflict with one of our families, and only having 3 students, it's important for us to have all of our students here present at graduation. So with the full support of all of our families, we have rescheduled Middletown 6th grade graduation for Thursday, June 12th at 6 o'clock. And we hope that we might have a board member come and join us to celebrate our 6th graders.
Hey, just questions for Carol. So I think you had said that you're unblocked on the PA system. You got an update on that? So we just
So Neil Duff from our tech department came today, and because Thomas McKenzie, who's been working in our buildings for the last couple of years, was finished on May 1st. And so he came in, he was kind of like seeing what we needed to, just checking up, making sure that we have supports that we need. And he and I were just talking about the bigger picture, and he said that he's going to come back and we're going to talk about what we can do to kind of push it forward and make it happen. It is a safety concern. It has been. You really cannot hear in certain places in the building when we try and call. I mean, a fire alarm, obviously the alarm goes off. Otherwise, when we do another drill, it's very difficult. So we just want to make sure that we take care of that.
And is there anything we can do as a board to help push this along, or Chris could do?
I mean, honestly, I think it's just looking and pricing out what equipment we could use. He had an idea of something that he thinks is already in place that just hasn't been utilized, a speaker in the multi. And so he was saying that could potentially help be what we could do and in the hallways where we can't hear.
Okay.
So I think he's thinking it might be less of a costly fix than what we originally anticipated. So I'm kind of anxious to talk to him about it, and I'll keep you updated.
Okay, great. And then the second question was the freezers. It looks like we got new freezers, so I'm happy to.
Yes. So the electrical company came in, and we ended up with the same capacity purchasing 2. They had to do some wiring downstairs. That was done, I think on Thursday last week. And then the freezers were delivered on Friday, and they're up and running. Allison went in and took things out of the chest freezer that I think had been there a little while, some of the things in the bottom, and she has reorganized. And so yes, thank you very much. It's up and running, and our PTO freezer is ready for pie business.
Great. And so the one that was upstairs, I think, had an issue because there wasn't a lot of ventilation. Is it
correct?
In the same place with the same problem, or are they both
No, we
downstairs?
actually moved them down to the basement.
Okay.
And we had somebody come and look and analyze the area and look at what they needed to do to rewire.
Okay.
So,
And those funds came out of the reserve fund, is that right?
actually, Lewis had instructed us when we got the invoices to put it through our maintenance And we talked about the fact that the board had talked about, yes, we could look at the reserve fund, but he said we didn't need to do that yet.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question on your report in the physical plant. Maybe you just said what it was, but under the freezers, the last sentence
Oh,
is kind of cut off. The freezer.
did it get cut off? I'm so sorry.
Is that what you were saying? They were moved downstairs?
Yes, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, no problem.
Kind of like a follow-up question to Matt's, the PA system,
Oh, yeah.
is that all being done like in-house by IT? Or has like there been, look at to see what products or companies are out there that could, install a system?
So I've pretty much, I think, relied on the IT department to give us the best suggestion for what we need to do. They do have other people come in and do wiring and stuff, but yeah. You know, I feel like it's been a holdup and we're just hoping to get it taken care of because.
Yeah, I know, because it's been like in the reports for
a
a
year.
long time.
Right.
And the only reason why I ask is I mean, to me, it would, that might be the best low cost alternative is to do it in-house using the IT department and their expertise. But a couple of years ago, at the VSBA conference, there was a contractor there. And they literally have, like, this is what they specialize in is communications, and I can find
That
that.
would be great.
I
And
think you may have given us information and I think I probably still have it.
I did, I did
Okay.
email it a while back, and I could probably
I
find
think there
it.
was a hard copy too. It may be in my office.
Yeah,
Take care of things like that. So.
but I don't know what the cost is gonna be. I never even asked him, like, but, I was just taking cards and I was like, so
Right.
I did, but there's also, their systems, you can have just like a basic communication system. It's completely customizable to whatever the school needs or schools need.
Right.
But they also like are promoting this educational component to it as well. So that's why I'm thinking like that might be bigger dollar signs, but, okay.
Carol, your teachers have walkies, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Do your teachers have walkie-talkies?
Yes, we use walkie-talkies too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So we have at least that as a fallback.
Yes, and we do use them. Sometimes it's just like when we do a lockdown drill or something, if we have a student in the bathroom in the hallway or in the multi-purpose, they can't hear.
Mhm.
So it makes it a little bit of a challenge.
I guess under the facility or capital maintenance plan updates,
Just to know which one you were looking at.
like looking at them both. Mhm. So the stuff that, I don't know if you guys wanted to talk about this or, is it just like self-explanatory as far as, oh, okay, I see. Some of it's been pushed to 26.
I think that what we did is without having a facilities director this year and then having someone come in who didn't know our buildings, things that we had talked about doing with Scott just didn't get done.
Correct.
And so we pretty much took the approach of most things were just going to get shifted. Some things were shifted around with priority. We completed 2 very small tasks this year, thanks to our 5th and 6th grade and Mr. Carlson. And then I added a few things on that would most likely fall in the fiscal year 26 budget, just given where we are in the timeline for the school.
We kind of wanted to give Ernie a chance to really look at it and kind of assess and prioritize what he thinks should happen. And just looking at the money, we were like, is this really going to be a priority next year? So some of the things, especially on the wells, got really bumped over. And depending on like the situation here, so there are
Right.
some pretty high cost items.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's,
So
But I understand though too, some of these are just estimates.
Yes.
And so, I don't know, I look at some of these estimates and I'm like, well, if you're gonna estimate, for the cost to be in like FY30, you have to probably factor in inflation and
right.
all that other stuff, but some of it's staggering.
The removal of the furnace for $100,000?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, that was,
Just the removal.
And I think those were numbers that
that
Scott
Scott had
come up
kind of
with,
come up
so-
with.
but the furnace in, that room, from what I understand, that room is closed off, because of some sort of, it might be asbestos concern or something like that. I don't know. I thought it was sectioned off because of,
The room with the furnace?
the old one.
Old one.
Yeah. Is that the one that, or is this?
There isn't a new one yet, is there?
Yeah, old furnace room. Yeah. Yeah. I just, that's what I thought, that might be why that cost is there, but.
Yes.
Because there's more than just a furnace.
It's more than just removing a furnace.
Right.
That's what you're thinking, okay.
I don't know. It was a long time ago when we took a tour of the building, so I was
Don't
told
worry.
we couldn't go in there. Yeah.
Stay right.
Okay. Yeah, I would imagine that, every year with all these new surprises, it's going to potentially push stuff down the road, right? Or, okay. So did anyone else have any questions, I guess, regarding the capital maintenance? The septic clean out outside of special education room? Is that,
So we have had a few instances this year where the septic has backed up into the bathroom in the special education room. And this most recent time, it was determined that the toilet in there has a couple like 90-degree angles, so it goes down and then over and then down and then over. So things are getting caught and someone was flushing paper towels. So it was a recommendation of A1 because we've had multiple issues with this. That if we were to install an outdoor clean out, that when situations like this arose, it would be easier for us to access to remedy the problem. Whereas right now they came to fix it, they were unable to fix it, then we had to wait several weeks for them to come back to fix it. Whereas if they had the clean out, it probably would not have taken so long.
So that's in addition to the suspected pipe that's crushed out there?
Yeah, when I asked them about that, they didn't bring that up. So, I think they're gonna need to dig a little bit deeper to see,
That's still gonna be looked at this summer when school's over?
yeah, I am not sure. I mean, I think that it needs to be on the list and I will put it on Ernie's list that I do think that he should be inspecting the pipe all the way from that room, across because it was mentioned that it should be replaced. And I mean, if your bathroom backs up twice and we had sewage everywhere,
Yeah,
it's a problem. So, and this is not the first year it's happened.
right.
So,
Yep.
it's known to back up.
okay.
So,
So I would imagine when he goes through and he'll get it like an estimate on that.
Yeah. yeah. So we're waiting on an estimate right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right. See what your brings, I guess. All right, so if nobody has any other questions, I guess we'll move on to old business. Community engagement is a reoccurring agenda item. I think Amanda, I don't know if you're available. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. First I'd like to say thank you so much to Matt for pulling it together last minute this month. I've been really busy with the yearbook, so Matt and Eric together made MailChimp happen very quickly. So that was awesome and I'm very grateful. So Thank you. The next thing, both things are about MailChimp. The first thing I was wondering about is including a PTO section. I didn't know if the board thought it would be appropriate to include a PTO and or FFE area in our MailChimp. Lisa Madison's been putting together like a monthly invite for PTO with clickable links to join the meeting and meeting times and information. And I think, over and over we say that we don't have parents participate and we don't have community members step up and help, but maybe if we included that in our MailChimp, they may be more apt to know about the meetings and join if they're not driving by the school to see that on the sign. So that was my first thing. And then the second thing is Mary and I were speaking after our last special meeting. I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, nothing.
Oh, sorry. Mary and I were speaking after our last special meeting, and she had spoken with some community members who mentioned that they couldn't easily access our special meeting and or were not aware of our special meeting because they had missed the posting that we put out. So in the past, we had decided that we wouldn't send any MailChimp messages out without prior board approval, but I didn't know if we could do like a blanket approval for if we have another special meeting to send out a MailChimp only including the agenda, a link to join the meeting, and if there's a little message about it, just a little message, not all of the other monthly information, just a very brief, here's a special meeting, here's a link to join us, this is when it'll be, this is the agenda. So those were the two community engagement things that I was hoping to cover. That's all I've got.
Okay, discussion.
Should I make a motion to do that? To cover special meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to include special meetings in the MailChimp advertisement.
Okay. And then she also asked about including, expanding it to include POs.
I was just gonna make one. Do you want them together?
No. I just, okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, Meredith made a motion to allow special meetings into our MailChimps. Any further discussion on that motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, that carries unanimously. Okay, and all right, so Amanda, you think that having are you talking just like including links to something or just like a whole nother section or?
Yeah, I don't know if any of you have been like on the Wells Village Facebook page, for example, but Lisa Madison monthly has been creating like a little Canva flyer with clickable links, and it just says like PTO meeting with the date and time, the location, a link to join the meeting, and like just some encouraging words like, come together to help us help you kind of thing. And it basically invites community members, parents, staff, everybody. So I thought if we could include that flyer or even just like a little word blurb where we have like the chalkboards and the Facebook page and all of that, I was thinking another button below that or even the flyer as an image. I know FFE is kind of a separate thing from Middletown, but we could also open that invitation if FFE had something going on like Strawberry Jam, for example, or the 5K. I mean, if there's any way that we can share information to better our schools and our students with PTO and FFE, I just didn't know about including that as a continuous monthly invitation, which I guess won't really apply to summer because kind of it will because PTO does like pie booth and stuff in the summer, but I don't know what FFE does in the summer, but just adding that as a button in there to tell people what we're doing and invite them to join us.
Does anyone have any objection to that, I guess?
I would just say keep it short. We don't want to overwhelm our readers and turn them off. So we can keep the little rectangles small.
Right. I was thinking just even an image, Matt, like even like, if the button literally says PTO and you click it and it opens up Lisa's flyer that she has made with Canva, the same one that's uploaded to the Facebook. Just something to say, hey, PTO's meeting on Tuesday. Here's how to join them if you're interested, kind of thing. And same with
I like
FFE.
that. Yep. Sure. Kind of like the principal's report section.
Correct.
like
And
it.
of course, none of this would be our own words. It would just be an area to bring them to the information that PTO and FFE are already sharing.
Not good. Okay.
Mary?
Yeah, just really quick. I know like in previous Friday notices for Middletown, there's been kind of like a shout out for FFE. I think we've stuck with like, the third Wednesday or Tuesday, I'm sorry, of like every month for a while. I'm not sure, Corey, if you still include those or, if that's something that we can. I mean, I know there's a ton in the Friday notices, to be honest, so I'm not opposed at all to your idea, man. I think it's great.
Yeah, so Mary, the school does not come up with those blurbs. We only share out what the FFE shares with us.
Okay, thank you.
And that would be the same for the PTO. Carol can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would not be making up any of our own words either. It would be whatever is posted to the school's Facebook page or already dates posted on the board in front of the school, really just to invite people to attend and participate and help out.
Okay. Mary, your hand's still up. Okay, so, I mean, it sounds like no one really has a problem with it as long as it's, short and simple, right?
Do we need a motion to add it, Eric, or is this discussion enough for me to put it in? And then if, at any time somebody wants something changed in our email, we can easily change it, or does it? I wasn't sure with how we set it up initially, if we needed to make motions to change things or if we could just do it after discussion. I can make a motion if we need one.
You can make a motion if you want. I mean, if it doesn't, I think with, unanimous consent, it's something that we can do through that.
Okay.
But, feel free to make a motion. I mean, you don't have to ask me.
I'm good with just the discussion. If we needed one, I wanted to make sure I did it. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll say with no opposition to your suggestion, we can approve it by unanimous consent. Okay. All right. On to B. So in
Yes, please.
we're on new business, and we added a couple things that are on the agenda. So stemming from our meeting last night with Meadowy, there was a discussion around shared interests and different things that the both boards would have, I guess, a shared interest in. And one of the things that came up was potentially collaborating and basically with Meadowy on, I guess, joint legislative letters sent to representatives. And so the concept was, and this is something that they already do. And because, meetings are a month apart, what they do when they reorganize is they basically allow the chair to advocate on behalf of the board on legislative matters. And so part of our discussion last night was potentially doing that together. And so I'm bringing it tonight to basically to the full board to ask if that's something the board would be interested in doing. And those who were there last night know, that there are potential common and shared interests and priorities that both boards have. So yeah, I don't know if anyone had any other questions or if I left anything out without talking about the whole meeting. So.
Just the actual goal that we were going to address.
Right. Which would be the
Draft a letter about school choice.
choice, and also, yeah,
I think that was the one.
that was a primary. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, because we did talk about healthcare and other cost driving factors, but I think that that's shifting. That could change, but yeah. So specifically, school choice, and I think that also. It's not, I don't think this is something that's going to be like a blanket, go ahead and write these letters and advocate on behalf of the board. The way I see it is there's definitely going to be some communication, especially as things come up. But for right now, I would say it's probably going to be just around school choice.
In our relatively unique position as K or pre-K through 6 with 7-12 choice and our location in the state. Not a lot of other schools, I don't know if there are any in our situation.
Yeah.
So the question is whether or not we want Eric to work with Julie on developing a letter that we would then send to our legislators. And possibly, well, not necessarily committees, or just the legislators.
I think it could include the committees as well. That's what I asked. I thought if we're sending a joint letter, and
joint letter is kind of a misnomer, though, isn't it? Because we did discuss them being separate letters.
I think no. I think if she were to draft it, we were to agree to it is one thing. I think there's got to be like a collaborative approach. So the way I interpreted it was by sending a joint letter from both boards. It's the same message, but it's not just going to be one person's words, right? So it's something that would be worked on together. And I know it doesn't quite make sense because this is something that, we could do on our own, right? But I think generally a lot of people agree that when you have two separate school districts coming together to, advocate for something that, they want, right? The shared interest, that it's, can have more of an impact. That's kind of what I got from it.
Yeah, I think that's right. So and I'm for it. It's also, I think, just a small step into collaborating with another board in this fashion. So it's like a good test, so to speak. Like, can we work with them? Is this a good partnership if we want to do further advocacy or do other things with that board? I don't think we lose anything. We don't lose anything from this, and potentially we can, further, the best outcome would be people that read this are align with our interests of having school choice and maintaining school choice.
And I will say, folks are uncomfortable with it, it's fine too, right? So it's definitely something that, I think, there's a trust factor as well. I mean, so I don't know what anyone else thinks about this.
How does it compare with the small school alliance efforts?
That's something we discussed.
Yeah.
I think because this is so specific in terms of 712 choice, it's sort of outside of their realm. Otherwise, it in some respects it doesn't compare to it because it's just 2 schools versus 80 plus entities.
But I've always found it interesting that the class size in the House version changes between 5 and 6.
Yeah, but
Like,
regardless, those things are far from in stone.
I'm just saying, it's,
But in terms of, that was my question too. It was brought up a few times during the meeting that both Mary and I brought it up, and I guess Eric has had some conversations previously with Julie about the rural community schools, and they, for whatever reason, are not ready to be involved with them. So, and as I said, out of the different things that we discussed last night, this was the one that made sense to actually pursue. That is unique to just Meadowee and Middletown
okay.
and Wellspring. Sorry, didn't say it like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, and that was kind of the whole point of even having the meeting, is just to find something that, both boards could get behind. And maybe it doesn't shift things, but, I think the Rural Community School Alliance is doing many different things with the legislation and advocating, but I do like the idea of getting together and actually saying this is what's important. One of the things that's important, I guess, but yeah. So I don't know. I think Meadowee has a lot more exposure to doing this as well, and so it seems like something that they do on a regular basis. So. Okay. Anyone else? Mary, are you guys there?
Yeah, I'm just listening. I honestly, at first I thought it was maybe a little redundant, supporting the letter between our school board and then theirs. And I was just able to chat with Matt a little bit, after school. And so he kind of brought a good perspective to the meeting. I was kind of in and out with my son's baseball game, but yeah, I mean, I guess if I can maybe on my own, if I'm able to encourage them to kind of look at the platform that the Rural Community Alliance has, they're doing a lot of great work, and they're actually asking for more support, from the community. So, but but yeah, I'm in support of, writing the letter. And I think they also did a good job acknowledging the fact that, I don't go back 2 years or 12 years or 20 years, but some of you guys might have more of a, a shared, knowledge about, Act 46 and the merger. So I know they acknowledge that, some people might come to the table, like Sue or Meredith or Eric and, or George have been there for a long time, and, maybe feel a certain way, but, I guess we're kind of up against a Goliath, and if we can come together on some things, that would be beneficial. So I support it for sure.
Okay. Amanda?
So do we need a motion?
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that meeting? Because like you said, there's only 2 of us that ever dealt with them. I don't know what it was like. Or do I want to ask that out? Okay, that tells me a lot right there. That's good.
Like I said, out of the many things we discussed, this was the one thing that made sense because, as I said, I think we may be it throughout the entire state, and we certainly are it in our Southwest region for 712 choice. We are the only ones looking for that.
Okay.
But we discussed a lot of other items that didn't flush out very strongly.
And how many of them are still some of the ones that I've dealt with back?
I don't know. Only maybe 2, 3 tops.
Okay, well, 2, 3 were pretty dominant at that time.
Yeah, but we're not there anymore.
I know.
And,
But I'm just,
and
you know what went on.
you know more than I do.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
I was definitely on the periphery, but as I said, there were other things, and I would, well, as I said, both Mary and I brought it up, and then Mary brought it up again about the they felt it was really important to be 2 different schools bringing this item forward, and I'm looking at the rural community group, and there are over 80 entities coming together. That's a big sound.
It is.
As opposed to 2 schools, but they're not all looking for just one thing, the choice.
That's a better way to put it. I would say the meeting went pretty well, and it definitely wasn't anything related to Act 46, I think.
It's not what was related. It is the perception that they put out there for what they wanted for Act 46. It's a different idea, and what they didn't ask for, they demanded, and it was different. So it was really quite difficult to deal with at the time.
Okay.
And I think should things continue in the legislature at the state level, the way things are going, it's going to be all out of our hands. So this is our last shot at maintaining local control of any sort, or at least local input.
Okay.
And
I'm glad you gave me a lot right there, so I'm good with that. Okay.
You missed it. Okay.
I have so much shit to get through. It's like,
Okay. All right. So you were going to make a motion.
yeah, to endorse, like, you to create a letter with the.
with or separate letter. Oh, that was
It's in conjunction.
in conjunction. Okay.
Or you could just do similar to kind of just authorize the board chair
Yeah,
to
there we go.
advocate on behalf of the board on the legislative matters.
That general?
Are we generally giving you all that?
I said you can't.
Yeah,
That's what they do.
I wasn't ready to do what they do. I was ready to, let's try this out on this letter and see how it goes.
Okay.
I don't think anybody on this board, sorry, we trust you, Eric, but
No, it's
I'm
fine.
really-
carte blanche on that would be a pretty big.
No, that's fine.
So just to be clear, what's the letter going to ask for?
it's just gonna advocate for school choice, I would imagine.
To maintain our current school choice systems in both our districts.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll let you craft it the way you want. I won't say anything.
Me?
Well, I thought you were making the motion. so-
I'm making the motion, yeah, to, authorize Eric to, work on this, collaborate with the Meadowy Board on a letter to legislature concerning our existing school choice programs.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed? All right, motion carries, unanimously. All right, I skipped over the retreat just really quick. We postponed this from reorganization. And how does the board feel about a retreat? When? Yes, no. I mean, we reviewed our goals last month. Yeah, it was last month. And, so I don't know how people feel about, reevaluating, continuing on, waiting to see what happens in the legislature. What's the pleasure of the board? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's almost, it's been a few years. I mean, two and a half years since we last did, retreat. And so I don't know. I think, maybe it might be worth it, but, I guess it,
Hey Eric, I haven't been around. This is only my second go around with you guys. So when you say retreat, would that be like a few hours that we get together and kind of just like go over like certain goals or kind of revisit, some past things we've been thinking about? Okay.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at the goals that are there and, we did that over a summer. 22. It's long enough. So that's exactly what it is. And usually we bring in, facilitator or something like that. It works out pretty well. So, but they're important conversations because it basically just kind of leads to, what do we prioritize? What's important, for the board and on district level. So I would say, yeah, why not? But I don't know. How does everyone else feel?
What would we do specifically?
Same thing we have before.
And just be oblivious to, or just, I mean, because of what's going on and all the uncertainty, would we just go ahead and plan as if things were going to remain the same?
Well, that's a good point. I don't know. I was thinking about, what's happening in the legislature but it's changed so much, and if anything does come out, from what I understand, that this is going to be an extended session too. I don't know if that's going to play out that way. But my thought behind it is, well, we can plan and we could always, change it too,
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. Keep it rather flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm fine with that because, the if something comes out of legislature and they draw, change district lines or something like that, or I don't know, that would change my opinion on things for sure. So, and we don't have to, I'm just bringing it back to the board for discussion, but not a super duper long discussion, so.
Can we postpone it again?
Of course.
Well, we'll have more information in another month, maybe, certainly in another 2 months. I mean, it does not have to be a summer retreat.
Correct.
Hope we'll be done with negotiations by the fall.
All right, I'm fine with that. It's like you were reading that. Okay, so is everyone okay with that, or I would ask, is anyone objecting to just postponing it? Okay, cool. So we'll do that. We'll postpone it, but till when do you think?
Well, let's try 1 month right now. Bring it back up. And I honestly think it'll be 2 months before we have anything more concrete than now, but it may not be anything concrete in 2 months.
Okay.
You can always add it to the agenda in a month if there is something that's come up.
All right, sounds good. All right, and then on to the SBA resolution. You want to talk about this? Yes, to put it on the agenda, I guess.
Yeah, so this stems from the Rural Schools Alliance. People are pretty upset with the VSBA and the BSA, and there's lack of support for our small schools. So one of the things they are promoting, I'll just read it real quick. Whereas the state legislature is considering legislation that will eliminate local accountability for schools by forcing consolidation of school districts, making it easier to force the closure of small schools and seriously erode the quality of education that rural school students in Vermont receive. Be it resolved that the BSBA will vigorously oppose any legislation that seeks to force the consolidation of school districts or make it easier to force the closure of small schools, and will seek the repeal of any legislation approved in 2025 that would do so. So this is specifically about loss of our local control, and wondering if we want to make a statement like that or endorse that as something to send to the BSBA for their what is it called?
For the annual meeting.
Annual meeting, yeah.
Which is in
Resolution.
that's where the resolutions are voted on, and so they have a specific process. The deadline is June 15th for resolutions, and they do have to be in a specific format. But these resolutions, when they're passed by the full membership, kind of direct the VSBA on how to advocate in the legislature. And I think that's where it's coming from. And also, I believe I heard that a resolution has already been submitted. I forget which school district, but it was about small schools. And so I, from what I understand, there's already another resolution out there, but that doesn't mean, that just means more schools want to see this type of resolution added to it.
That's what I would think the point of us doing it would be, that not that they would adopt them. Well, I guess, do they put them all up for vote? Technically.
So what happens is the resolution committee meets in, I think it's, August, and they go through all the submitted resolutions. And actually I got the process right here.
So they could essentially group ours in with others that are similar.
I think so. I think they could do that. Yeah, so, you know, and then in September, they have basically the resolutions that were passed out of committee, and then October, they're voted on. But yeah, in August,
So this is due June 1st, which is,
15th.
oh, 15th, which is the reason to bring it up now, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it the 15th?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we could do it in June, but yeah. But I do think that, and that's why I agreed to put it on the agenda on such short notice, because if we are going to develop our own resolution, or even add or consider another one, there might be some discussion behind it. So so any questions, any thoughts on a resolution?
Again, I think having that many more organizations behind this letter carries some weight. I would be in favor of.
Well, but in particular, asking the organization we pay dues to actually support our position, which they currently are not.
No, they're not.
They're basically supporting what's being done at the legislature.
But as opposed to writing a letter with MetaWe, again, that's a good thing to do. But this, with more signatures, I think carries more weight.
And essentially, that's what the rural group is
Right.
asking its members to do.
So I think it's something we should do. Absolutely.
Okay. Does anyone object to submitting a resolution? So, all right, so now, I guess we can try to figure out the language itself. I'm not sure if you wanted to take what was there, what was suggested, or, I mean, could even add to it, you know. I've seen a lot of whereas and whereas and whereas.
Okay.
So
So this is pretty short, actually.
it is compared to some of the other ones I've seen. This says, whereas the state legislature is considering legislation.
And it's really specifically asking for the VSBA to take action.
Yeah. Vigorously.
Yeah.
Well, one thing, you know, because I'm reading this and part of me is also wondering too, will this even make it through this language here? And so I'm part of me is just wondering, like,
Because it's too aggressive?
Yeah. And
Just curiosity, Todd, because I don't have an issue with this at all, other than, well, if that piece, base, maybe the backlash to the schools that are sending this out, they come back,
oh,
if you're pissing up people off.
no, I don't.
I'm not,
I-
don't want to think that, but it's,
So this is to the VSBA though.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, and we pay for them to advocate
yeah, I know
for
we do,
us.
but obviously.
So they don't, well, other than they have
They're already-
influence, but they don't have any actual authority over what happens.
They're already ignoring us.
Yeah.
So I will say that, the last two VSBA conferences were, when it came to the resolution process, very, very interesting. Because there was a lot of back and forth between adding, some, what I would say is some controversial resolutions, and some of it, I think one ended up, they formed a commission on the future of public education, just because there was a lot of boards out there that were, just not happy with what's coming out of the legislature. So they were using the resolutions to basically have the VSBA advocate, because they are one of the organizations that I think the legislature recognizes, right? But up until the last couple of years, it was pretty much just, I guess, boring.
I've never been to one where I thought it was interesting anyways, but.
Right. So even if, well, I guess my point is, and to answer your question, sorry, getting off track, is that even if it doesn't make people happy, really, the VSBA board and the staff there, they have to follow the resolutions. And so if the membership says this is what they want, then they're just like, okay. And I would like to think that, there isn't any kind of negative impact on it, but.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Oh, yeah. No, it's well warranted, I would say.
Yeah.
So I forgot what I was saying. The language. So yeah, I kind of wonder if,
You don't think it should be vigorously opposed? I mean, do you want to soften the language?
I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe come up something like our own language that, because I don't know exactly what happens in their resolution committee.
Well, we can sit with it for the month and come back at our next meeting with language to vote on.
Well, like perhaps, maybe that's something like you and I can work on together and bring back to the board. If everyone's okay with that. Because,
And then everybody can have it printed out in front of them and really
exactly.
look at it.
Right. Because also, so the resolutions are submitted online, and this is kind of what it looks like. And don't laugh because okay. But it says at the end, and this is required, can you give 3 to 4 sentence summary of why the resolution is important to your board? So I think that's something too that to keep in mind, and then it has topic of concern. So, and I'm glad I seen this beforehand, because I think that if you're going to provide a resolution and then say why this is important, that should come from the board too. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Pretty self-evident, isn't it?
Right, but I do think that everyone should be able to participate in what's being submitted.
While you're working on that, could where can we get a copy of their suggested, proposal to kind of look at?
Oh, I can forward this to you.
Okay,
Yeah, we
From
can,
the rural schools.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can,
That just came out of an email.
yeah, it doesn't seem to be on their website, so.
No, this is in the emails going.
Yeah.
Back.
and I will reach out,
This is actually from David Martin from Ludlow, Mount Holly,
mhm.
who was somebody who wanted to merge with Middletown at one point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they were trying to stay 7-12 choice, and they ended up in Two Rivers, which is, I think all their kids now go to Green Mountain and somewhere else in between for middle school.
Okay, so we'll do that. I think that'd be fine. And our next meeting is the 11th, so we could come to an agreement, and there's still time to submit it, but at least we can, put something together that, isn't someone else's words, I guess. And, I was going to say is I can also find out if indeed there was an actual resolution submitted and what it was just to see, because I would like to know, to your question, if multiple resolutions are the same.
Or similar, yeah. How
Right.
does that play out?
Yeah, because, who knows, maybe, if it's the same as another one, maybe that might be more beneficial than separate ones, so anyway, okay. I think that's a good plan. Anyone else have anything to add? Can you guys hear me online?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
They were just sleeping.
Turn your cameras on. Okay. All right. So with that, we do have an executive session tonight. Is there a link for that? Did you send out a link for that?
Yes, everyone should have a link.
Okay. Okay.
As you're getting ready to do that, Eric, Chris had reached out to Greg Connors in our IT department. And he, just to give you an update on the PA system, he said that he's going to Rutland Town School Friday to meet with a cabling provider, and he will book him to install the speakers at Wells as soon as possible.
Oh, nice. Great.
So just so the
Great.
words stick to that.
Love that. Thank you, Chris.
Amanda?
I am at a barrel race. I had to connect from the end of the road for this link. If it doesn't connect to the executive session link, just start without me. It'll take me a minute to get down there to get service.
Okay.
Just so you know, if I'm not right there, that's why.
Okay. So I will make a motion to move us into executive session at 7:19 for the purposes of discussing contracts. For those who are online, we will come back to this meeting link after we are done in executive session to close out the meeting. And so with that being said, all those in favor of moving to doing executive session, please say aye.
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 Well, consensus.
Future
Motion carries.
Wall Springs Court.
Unanimously. I think that was 8. That was TV. Okay. All right. All right. We are in executive session. So, all right. We'll see everyone there. All right. We are out of executive session at 7:33 by consensus. We will need to have a motion. on
Hey,
the,
Eric, I'm sorry to jump in. When I last checked our documents, there was another position that we were.
Yes.
yep,
Okay,
so,
great. Thank you.
yeah, so I'm just gonna ask for a motion to approve the contract recommendations as presented.
Great.
Eric,
Yes.
could I maybe just ask for you to just read the names of those two candidates, just because it's one of these is a principal position. There are people on the call who took place on the interview committee who would probably like to know who the next principal would be. So that might be, and just and a welcome to them, if that's okay.
Of course. Yeah, okay.
you.
Yeah, so we have Jessica Billingsby as the candidate brought forward for our Middletown Springs principal. And then we have a new teacher hire, Wendy Marie, at Wells Village School for our contract recommendations. So I will make a motion to approve both those contracts as recommended. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, our next meeting is June 11th, at Wells. And, if there's any additional agenda items, please let me know. And just really quick, just throwing this out there for the board. We do have GRCSU new board member training for new and old board members, which is just before the GRCSU meeting. You can attend virtually. And so if you weren't aware, this is something that is new. So I would say there's pretty good attendance at the last one. Considering, but so feel free to join in, and it's for new and experienced board members as well. So it's not just for one group. But having said that, I'll take a motion to adjourn at 7:36.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion to adjourn. All right, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Good night.